Hello, hello. Welcome back to yet another episode of Olio. My name is Elijah, and today I have an interesting area that I want to cover. It's going to be a little different today because most of the time the things that I like to talk about, I like to cover on Olio, I have like a little bit of an idea about, like I have a grasp on the situation a little bit, and most of the time I'm telling you a little bit in retrospect of like, so here's where I was, here's what I did, and here's what I continue to do to put, to be in the place where I am now. And it's kind of like, I like to share that journey. In this case, the conversation I want to have today is a bit funky because I am so very much in it. And I don't yet fully understand, the situation. I really don't. And I don't understand, many ways to escape, this, I guess, which is strange because, it's just one of those things I really don't know yet. And it's, it's kind of scary not knowing sometimes. But saying this aloud, like, I recognize that, it's all part for the course. And I'm sure I'll get there one day. But, that's kind of a little precursor for today. Before we dive in, a little bit of context and what's going on, in my life, on my day-to-day. Today I don't have too many plans, which is nice. I've got a day off from work, which is nice. I had that yesterday too. Wow, I'm just thriving with that. Today I'm gonna go to my parents' house to help my brother Logan, who does lots of live streaming with his computer because it's having some issues. So after this, I'm gonna go hang out with him for a little while, see if we can figure out what's going on. Should be a good time. And then here's something. On Friday, my song is coming out. My single off of the album. It's called Alone. And yeah, I'm really excited for it. It's going to be coming out. So stay tuned for that. But that's pretty much it. Not too much action for me the past little while, which is not a bad thing. I'll take that happily. So now kind of moving into this brain fog. This is what I've chosen to call it because I think it is the best way that I know how to describe it. Whenever I'm talking to people or I'm, trying to describe it to other people, I always use the term brain fog because that's the best way I can describe how it feels. And how to even describe it and the other way other than foggy is difficult. So this is going to be, a conversation for all of us to try and maneuver and figure out together. But it comes in so many different forms and so many different, forms. And sometimes the fogginess that happens is short-lived and it's very quick, and other times it's a very long-lasting thing and it can go on for days. And basically what it feels like is you are not present in a situation. Like you're not present. And what I mean by that is you feel like the whole world is kind of zoomed out, and you're talking and you're doing action, you're doing things and going about your daily life, but like it doesn't feel like it. It feels like you're just kind of watching somebody else. Like you don't feel in control. I guess that's the main thing. You, in this brain fog, you don't feel in control of your body. And you don't feel in control of your thoughts either. And I'm sure for everyone this comes and goes in very different fashion, I imagine. And perhaps is caused and triggered by, very different things for everyone. In my case, finding a trigger is tough. I don't know, what really causes it for me. But what I can say is, the times when it's like really long can be really tough and really like grueling, like a long process. So like I've had times where, I'll wake up and I'm feeling like foggy and, maybe I'll be okay right when I wake up, but then I'll start to feel foggy. And I think it's tied to perhaps feeling anxious. I think it's tied to anxiety because I can't think of anything else that would cause it to be that way for me personally. Again, I have a feeling that it's kind of manifests itself differently for everyone. But for me, I think it comes off of anxiety and when my head is really full of a lot of different things. So if I'm really busy and if I've let it get the best of me and I've kind of just allowed my head to like, be wired and just kind of go crazy, I think that's when this fogginess can kind of just like roll in. And before I know it, I go from being really expressive and like, talkative and feeling present and in control to just gone. And sometimes it's noticeable by others and other times I don't think it is. So sometimes I'll like, if I'm at work or something, at work, I'm a host and a server, at a restaurant. So I have to be very, my whole job is with people. So I have to be very talkative and communicate and expressive. And when have that brain fog, sometimes it's really tough to do that because you have to work really, really hard to make that happen. And I think, again, sometimes I do a good enough job where people may not be able to tell too much that I'm just totally not there. But I'm really trying to like act like I am. And in a way that kind of subsides it in a way, which is probably not, that's not the best way to deal with that. Absolutely not. But in the moment that can kind of subside it a little bit because at least I'm forcing myself. And since it's work, I have to do it. You know what I mean? But there's also situations where people can tell and people will tell me, they're like, dude, like, are you okay? Like, if people are with me, they could be like, you like seem out of it. The most recent time I can think of was just in the last week or two. I was hanging out with a friend and I was so out of it, like so out of it. And they asked me, they were like, dude, are you okay? Like, you do not seem well right now. And I was driving. So what they were describing to me was like, I wasn't responding to what they were saying. So like they would say something and I would just like nod or like just not even do anything sometimes. Or I would try and respond, but like I would stop halfway through a sentence or stop halfway through a word. Like I would start talking and then to respond and then just stop. And like, it looked like I was like frozen. And like, come to think of it, like the strangest thing is I don't remember that. Like I remember it a little bit. Like I remember how it felt, but I can't remember the conversations we had. I don't remember exactly what went down in that, but I was like frozen and like, they were like, yeah, it's like you're glitching. Like I was like not there. And they were worried because I was driving, right? Because you're like, oh, okay, like that's scary. But what I do recall is like, I felt fine driving. Like it wasn't, should I have, maybe probably shouldn't have been, but because I was, it was like my intake of like the world, like the information I was pulling in that case was pretty accurate, because I was getting everything that person was saying to me, my friend was saying to me. I was getting it, like I was internalizing it, and everything that was happening on the road and involved with driving, like I was getting it. It was just my social output that was so messed up, and like they said, it was like glitchy, and that was a more severe brain fog feeling for me, where I was just like dazed and out of it. So crazy stuff. And I think, again, my suspicion for me as to why it is, I think it's tied to anxiety, and I think it's tied to having too many things pent up that I haven't really dealt with. And I'm a very, task-oriented person, so I often have a lot of things going on at once in my life, a lot of different tasks, a lot of different things, so it can be stressful to have all of that running in my mind at the same time. So I think that's probably what it's mostly tied to, is, I'm getting overwhelmed, and then this thing just swoops in. That's my suspicion. As for the times when it's, really long, like I was talking about earlier, where it's a few days, and I'm like, most of the time it's not that, like, I don't have that glitchiness or like that weird feeling. Most of the time, if it's like a few days, people can't really tell. But I'm just working extra hard to like function, and I have to like really, force myself to even get up out of bed, or like force myself to like, I don't know. Like I have this weird, this is just, I also have like a what I like to call chronic laziness, which is like, I will do everything in my power to do the absolute like least possible. So, and I don't want to, but, and this isn't all the time, but like, it's a bad habit of mine. It's it's something I want to work on. But like, it's the strangest thing. Why I say it's chronic laziness is because it'll be the weirdest things. Like, do I want to, I don't even know. I can't think of an example. Like, put socks on, and it's like, I don't know. Like, but they're like, I'd have to go get them. Chances are I'll have to wash them after. Like, you know what I mean? Which is, it's the weirdest thing, because like, dude, it's socks. Like, yeah, just go get them. Or like, if I want to, and this can be in a very unhealthy way, which I've started to discover as well, and I'm trying to remedy this one quicker with self-care, like real self-care. Like, like, I'm trying to think, eating even, which is, this one's really bad, eating or drinking. I'm like, if I'm like in bed or something and I'm like, oh, I'm hungry, I'm like, well, I'd have to go get something. Like, weird things like that are amplified. Normally when I'm in control of the situation and I'm present, I see that happen, and I'm like, okay, dude, like, whatever. Like, it doesn't even cross my mind. If I'm hungry or thirsty or I need socks because my feet are cold, I just go do it. But if I have this fog, especially the multi-day, like kind of longer lasting, it's really tough to do those things. It's tough to do anything, because in my mind, every time I want to do something, it's like, well, then I'd have to, is it really worth like the effort to do anything? And that's a really weird and twisted, dark place that I don't really want to be in. And I find that the only things that end up happening during that time are the things that I absolutely need to do, like go to work. That's all I can think of off the top of my head. Right. Or if I'm hanging out with someone or doing something because somebody else is depending on me. That's the only time when I find that I can get out of that, that slump and go do something, is when somebody else is depending on me. So I'm trying to figure out ways to combat this. And this is why I was saying, like, this episode today, this conversation is going to be a work in progress, because I don't know what to do at all, with it. So I think developing some ideas is going to be a really good thing to do. I think, again, I suspect that for me, it's mostly tied to that to-do list anxiety where I feel the weight of things stacked on me. And I'm a very big to-do list person. Like, I have like so many lists and things on my phone. It's literally not even funny. Like, I show my friends this all the time because I'm very task oriented. I think my mom is too, like very task oriented, but she's really good at like multitasking and managing those big things. I feel like my mom is like I want to be able to do what she does with her task and goal management and all that, because she just gets stuff done. like she'll have a huge list of things she needs to accomplish and she'll just get it done. And it's like, I aspire to be that so much. And I know other people like that too, who just have a huge list of things and they just get everything done. And I'm like, wow, I want to do that. And so, for me, most of the time it comes in the forms of like, I make these huge to-do lists and I show my friends and they, we get a kick out of it because I have literal like lists inside of lists. You know what I mean? Like you can click on a bullet point in a list and it brings you to a whole nother list of different, things I need to do, which is, really good to have it all written down. But like, dude, when I'm feeling the brain fog, I look at that list inside of the list and I'm just like, oh, like, I don't know where to even start, And I think the weight of seeing everything laid out that I need to do is like, oh, wait, just so overwhelming to all take in at once when I'm feeling that defeated. And unaccomplished, I guess. Like, I think that's another piece of the brain fog that makes me not want to, or not be able to even get up or function, is I often feel very, what's the word? I was going to say incompetent. I often feel incompetent to accomplish the things that I want to accomplish. Which is not great because, I don't want to tie my self-worth, I almost said self-worth, my self-worth into the equation because it doesn't need to be there at all, right? So I'm trying to realize that. I'm trying to work through that in those, more difficult situations. Because I know, like, yeah, man, like, you got to believe that, you are good enough, that you are competent for these things, because we all are, but feeling incompetent, I think, is just kind of, unfortunately, a tougher part of life that we need to all look at and work through in our own different ways. And for me, the way that I'm dealing with it right now is not really the healthiest. So, it's buying into the brain fog, buying into the fake news that my head and my body are trying to tell me. So I guess now I want to turn to the future. This has been kind of a dark convo today, a little bit, I think. So thank you for being here for that. So now for the future, like, what do we do about this? Again, I am figuring this out right now. Like, as I'm talking, I'm figuring this out right now because I'm in it. You know what I mean? So like today, by the way, like, I'm feeling totally great. Yesterday was a little foggy, but not much. Today I feel great. I'm here. I'm alive. Feels good to be alive. And we're up and at 'em. I think what it comes down to is honestly, I was thinking, honestly, I also had a little bit of a shower thought the other day. I think it ties into what I want to accomplish here. I think it's almost the opposite of what I was initially thinking when I was having these brain fog things. And this is something that I've had for, I can't remember when I didn't. But I think it comes down to the opposite thing, which is actually slowing down. slowing down. And because when I was first having these and first recognizing that this was an issue that was happening, my first go-to was speed up. And, you know, if I was in bed, it was like, get up, go do the stuff you need to do, go get done, go actually, in fact, since you're in bed, go up, go do this, and this, knock all the items off of the list because the list is stressing you out. So go knock all the items off, knock all the things that you have to do, get them done. And that was like running in my head when I would be having this brain fog, because I was like, well, the list is stressing me out, so go get it all done, and then it won't stress you out anymore, right? Like that was my logic. So I think what I really need to do is slow down. Instead of, you know, telling myself to go get everything done. I think this ties into the conversation we had in the rest episode, where I need to, you know, at the end of that, we talked about how like I need to allow myself to rest, you know, not force myself to rest, just like allow it to happen. And allow, you know, the weight of everything, allow tomorrow to worry about tomorrow, and allow today to worry about today. You know, just take things one step at a time instead of trying to accomplish all these things. And I think that would be really helpful for me, to just allow myself to have a little bit more leeway instead of holding myself up to try and accomplish all these things, because I think that's the weight and the pressure that I start feeling in the first place before the brain fog even rolls in. So I think that's really what I need to do is, you know, try to slow down, try to, you know, allow that rest to really happen. And see what happens from there. So we will kind of see what happens with that. I see a message from, my mom. My mom left me a message on chat on the live stream. I love my mom. What did she say? She said, it could be cyclical due to brain chemistry. I think you're super self-aware, which is fantastic. Liking your thoughts and slowing down and the lists and resting more. Love you. I love you too, Mom. This is true. I haven't even thought of that, of it just being, you know, the brain chemistry, right? And I feel like sometimes it happens around the same, you know, like it does seem like a repeating process. So maybe that is tied to that. And I guess I just want to figure out how I can, you know, what we can do to make it the least effective as possible. And I certainly find that the medication that I'm on helps with like the chemistry side of things, I feel. Because there's been days where I've forgotten to take it, and I'll be halfway through my day and I'll be like, I'll be like, you know, starting to freak out a little bit, and I'm like, why is that happening? And I'm like, or I'll be with my friends and I'll be like, and they'll be like, what? And I'm like, guys, I didn't take my meds this morning. I totally spaced it. I totally forgot. And I'm like, that's why I feel like this right now. That's like a good, you know, that's why it's so intense. So yeah, I think, you know, and maybe the medication, you know, tied to the chemistry, maybe that's something we look into a little more as well, right? If I can't seem to get like a good process going on just kind of the mental thoughts side of it, if I can't really conquer this, I think maybe I'll dive into that a little bit more and see if there's some tweaking that needs to be done with that. So could be an interesting journey in and of itself, kind of figuring that out. But I'm hoping that, you know, we can at least minimize it for like on my day-to-day of having that happen by, like my mom said in chat, like slowing down on the lists, resting more, allowing myself more space, and just not getting weighed down by everything that, you know, we as humans have to accomplish. Just allowing it. Yeah. I also like right now, if you're watching the live stream, my video became very bright. I look like I'm like ascended into heaven, which is kind of funny. It's really bright outside. It looks like a nice day. A little gloomy, but not bad. We're getting there. Spring is almost here. Spring is almost here. Alrighty, folks, friends, family. With all that being said, I always like to end on a question with Olio. This is a tough question. This is a tough one for me to develop here, to pose a question, because again, most times I have like a what can we do type of thing, and it's with my experience and kind of what I did, and tying that all together. But I'm still very much working through this. So I guess I'll just ask, do you experience brain fog? Do you experience brain fog? And what, just think about this. Allow it to be a question in your mind in the next little while, the next few weeks. Just think about that. Like, do you experience brain fog? Like, do you feel this fogginess? How does it develop for you? And maybe try and run like a mini conversation with yourself, kind of how we just did here today, of your circumstances and your situation. Like, how does that fogginess or that distancing, feeling really zoomed out or not in control, how does all of that tie into your life if that happens to you? Or, if you're in a situation where you're well aware of it, what can you do in the future? Kind of like how we were figuring out today. Maybe you need to allow yourself to rest a little more. But yeah, just think about that. Do you have brain fog? Do you experience brain fog? It's kind of a fun term, brain fog. Yeah, so think about that. With that, that's basically all I wanted to kind of chat about today here on the pod. So thank you so much for tuning in. If you were here live, thank you. If you're listening after the fact, also thank you. I appreciate you. Be safe, be well. Much love to you all. And guess we'll see you very soon, huh? Peace.